Speech is also an interactive process where we participate, okay? So I'm gonna draw a little picture and see if you guys can follow along with me. So we have speech can be diagrammed, let's put it this way. So I have a speaker right here, okay, and I have a listener right here. And speech is a message between them. But that's not all that's happening here. There's also something known as feedback. And there's context. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening here in this diagram. When we say that speech is interactive, there's something that goes on between a speaker and a listener all the time. So the speaker gives the message, right? The listener receives the message. But does he just receive it and that's it? No. He gives something back to the speaker. And what he gives back, we call feedback. What is feedback? What do you think?
There's some variation about something. Like when in this case, like the speaker send the message for the listener receives the message, and after that they say, oh, I like this message. Next time I will try it the other way, and make the content inside of the mind.
Okay, so it could be like a positive feedback or a negative feedback. You may
feedback.
like it or not like it.
Yeah, because if you're positive, you wanna. It's like when I say something. If you want, you like something, it's gonna be positive for you, and you earn money. But it's not like you lost money, and the speaker changed the mind for the put all away. I can't understand this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. What are some of the other things that you guys can think of when you say feedback in speech? What types of feedback does a speaker receive from the listener?
Like listener's idea, maybe?
Yeah, well, I'm asking you for feedback right now. Me asking you a question is me asking for a feedback. That's exactly, there's an interaction between a listener and a speaker. And sometimes the speaker says what he wants to say, but then he wants to receive some kind of clue from the listener. You know what I want to receive from the listener, being a speaker, first and foremost? Attention.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get attention, I feel like, okay, maybe I'm not being heard. Or maybe what I'm saying is boring, or irrelevant, or they don't care, or they know it, and whatever reason. My mind starts wondering as a speaker. When I see a bunch of people and they're not paying attention, I'm wondering, why are they not paying attention? Is what I'm saying not good, ineffective, doesn't interest them? So all sorts of questions start popping in my mind. See, that's feedback, okay? So imagine you are a public speaker, and this is me sitting listening to you. What does that communicate?
So boring.
Or this is me listening to you. I'm sitting working on my phone. I'm texting. Sure, whatever. Texting. And what you do sends a message as a listener as well as a speaker. If I'm a speaker, I can send messages of aggressiveness to you, and then what will I receive back? Possibly I may receive fear. Maybe I'll receive aggressiveness back, right? If I'm aggressive to you, maybe you'll get aggressive to me. You'll give me a big frown, right? Or if I say something that upsets you, you're gonna give me that awful face, that you're gonna hate me or something like that. So this is all what we call feedback. Feedback doesn't necessarily have to be a vocal type thing. It could be a frown, it could be a laughter, right? If I crack a joke and you don't laugh, then like, oh, they didn't get my joke. I can try another one, or I need to come up with a better one, something like that. It could be anything. It could be a yawn or anything that you express. A disinterest, not paying attention is also feedback, all sorts of things. And when people connect with you, they look at you, they pay attention, that is a feedback. That means, hey, I'm engaged, I'm listening, I'm paying attention. So in a crowd, when you're standing, you're speaking, you're scanning the crowd all the time for feedback. Because you know what? Sometimes their feedback changes what you say. Sometimes their feedback changes how you say it. Sometimes, I've been in situations where I speak and I all of a sudden realize people are not tracking with me. They have no idea what I'm saying. You know what I do? I change it up. I try to find a way to adapt my speech to the way that they can connect with me. Sometimes I may crack a joke to bring them back. Sometimes when I'm speaking, and it's, I get to speak in these long lectures, right? So I'm giving this long lecture, everybody's tired at the end of the day, they all fall asleep on me. And I literally have people fall asleep on me in class. Not because I'm a terrible speaker, but because they're tired, because they worked all day, okay? And then they came to night class. Sometimes what I'll do? I'll raise my voice. I'll speak a little louder. What? Because I want to wake them up a little bit, shake them up for a moment. They're like, oh, they were drifting away, they didn't realize it. So that's technique, but feedback is how we reflect back to the speaker. Could be anything. Could be really verbal and nonverbal, doesn't really matter. You could say, yeah, and that's feedback too. You can nod your head, or you can simply sit there looking bored, and that's also feedback. Now, hopefully that makes sense. Now, what is context? Feedback is how you're communicating back to the speaker. What is context?
A message about the time of the...
No, not quite. You're around and about. You're in the neighborhood. Keep circling the block.
The timing, the place, the situation.
Timing, the place, yes, you're right in there. Place especially is very important. Context. What is our context now?
Studying.
Study, classroom, education, school, right? So the reason why you're listening to me is because that's your context. You're expected to listen. And I'm expected to tell you stuff. So our context is, you expect me to stand here and tell you things, and I expect you for you to listen. And that is how we understand our interaction. You know exactly what to expect from me, and I know exactly what to expect from you. Now, if somebody didn't know that that was our context, and they just watched us, they got peeked in, they just walked into the room, they had no idea this was a school, they just got lost or something like that, and they walked into the room and all these people are sitting at their desks, and I'm sitting out here with a board, and they have no idea what it is. Would they be able to figure out what in the world we're doing? If they're not familiar with the process of education and how it works, they may not. Imagine they come from culture where people don't sit at desks with their laptops or whatever and study like that way. Maybe they sit in a circle. Maybe they sit on a floor, in their culture. That's okay. But the point is, if they're not familiar with it, they may not understand the context. Knowing context changes things. Knowing context changes the message. And it changes the feedback as well. Okay? What are some of the contexts that you can think of in which a person can give a speech? Give me a context. Imagine a person giving a speech, and what would be a context? Come on, you got imagination.
Political
Okay.
speech.
Political speech. So describe it to me. What does it look like? Where is it?
In a big square.
In the big square, outdoor. Good, see? That changes things.
The White House.
In front of the White House. So he's making it better. He's helping out. So outdoor. So does that mean if I'm an important political person, will they be like police, security maybe, around the corner, somewhere around, walking around, doing a little check, See, that's all context. There may be some protesters over there. They don't like what I have to say because they're against me. I'm running for president, and those people hate my guts, so they're going to scream and yell and try to drown me out, right? So that's all context. So in context of everything that's happening, I'm going to make my speech. And I may actually refer to the things that are around us. And how I speak may change. And the fact that I'm outside may actually change my speech too. Because guess what? If it's outside and it's hot, and you're standing there, are you going to stand there for 45 minutes and listen to me speak? When you're pouring with sweat? No, I'm going to make my speech short, sweet, and to the point, so you can go back into air conditioning, right? So the point is that our environment, our context, the situation in which we're in actually changes the speech. And a lot of times it sets the speech up for you. It tells you what you can and cannot do, what you should and shouldn't say, how you should say it, how long you should say it. That's context. Make sense? Now if it was a rock concert, different context, right? You're like, shut up, don't give me a speech, play some music, right? Something different, completely, totally different expectations. So, you know, if I came out with my board in the middle of a rock concert, you know what's gonna happen, right? You're gonna kill me. They're gonna run me off that stage, because that's wrong context. Not supposed to be lecturing them. So you get the idea.